Right, well, Jack, thanks for joining us today for Two Finger Media. We're at Reading at the Face Bar. Is this the first time you played Reading, I guess?
Yeah, man, I've travelled through Reading on many occasions, but I've never played here, let alone played this bar. So yeah,
that seems to be the most the best way that people travel is through Reading.
Well, I don't know, mate. It seems like a nice place this afternoon. We've been hanging out. It seems all right, you know.
Nah, this place has got so much potential, and to get guys of your calibre to come down and play is great for the town, great for Alec, obviously putting it on, and hopefully it'll bring more punters in to this area.
I think with Reading, the location is kind of perfect for gigs because you've got it so close to London, but you've got Oxford that's close to it as well. And there's a lot of people that I know travelling over for the gig tonight who, it's such a good location that you think you get here on the train in about 40 minutes from London or something, can't you?
I think it's direct to Paddington or something.
Yeah.
It's a real easy run. Like I say, Oxford's an hour away, or less than an hour. London, Shepherd's Bush End is an hour.
Yeah.
It is a good location, but that's probably why it's like it is, because you've got those other cities too close. But no, it's good. And like I say, fantastic you're here. But I mean, you have a residency in London. Is it Ain't Nothing But the Blues Bar?
Yeah, I play down there every couple of weeks.
So how long's that been for you?
Probably about 5 years now, but I kind of stumbled into that through going in there drinking. So it was not a gigging venue for me. It was my hangout, and then
Or like a pre-gig social bit,
or post-gig even, because it's open pretty late. So yeah, that was how I ended up playing down there. I think I just got up on a jam one night and was probably significantly inebriated, but yeah, it went all right.
Obviously left an impression, and they thought, this guy, we'll have him. I mean, is it cool to have a place like that where you can almost experiment with new music? You're going to have a crowd there, you've got like a permanent audience. It must be quite satisfactory to sort of have that.
It's quite immediate as well because the audience is sat right in front of you, and so I do gigs where the audience can be on bigger stages where there's a gap between you and the audience. When you're trying out new material in particular, if you've got somebody who's sat 3 feet away from you, you more or less know very quickly whether the song is going to be dug by a bigger audience.
Because you can see their eyes.
Yeah, or not see their eyes and they're just glazing over, and you think, well, maybe that one isn't quite working well enough.
No, but like I say, it's a great environment, and you can't hide. You're there, like you say. They're in your face. You're in their face. Nowhere to hide. I mean, your latest album, Paint No Fiction. Was it last December it was released?
Yeah.
And that's your. What's that? Your second, third?
It's the second solo album.
Right.
I've released an album with a band called the Boom Boom Brotherhood last year, and yeah, that album was sort of hot on the heels of the Boom Boom Brotherhood album. It's about 6 months later, but yeah, I like to keep working and keep churning stuff out. It's a good way to do it.
Your single, was it Hip Slicking, was released a couple of months ago, a month and a bit ago?
Yeah, about 6 weeks ago.
And that seems to have been getting a lot of airplay, like you say, Planet Rock and people like that have sort of jumped on it, and it's a great song. I mean, it is a great song. So that must be really satisfying for you as an artist to sort of almost see yourself out there now with these big organisations sort of taking an interest. But my question is, how did you decide that is going to be the single?
Well, it's a bit weird actually, because you write a bunch of songs, and I write mainly on acoustic, and that way it means I focus on the lyrics more than the guitar solos, which if anybody's come to see my band live, that can be the focus. But when I write tunes, I write them on acoustic, and then for that album I suppose I had about 20 tracks that we recorded, and then you kind of reach the point where you're mixing these tunes and you think, okay, that's definitely a single, that's more sort of introspective album track, but that one definitely we said early on that was going to be a single. It's good rocking tune, so yeah. Exactly,
it's straight away, there's no sort of slow intro, it's just there in your face. It's fantastic. I mean, at the moment, this Paint No Fiction UK European tour, I guess that's what tonight is as well.
Yeah.
Now you've got that over the next few months, obviously the UK side, then you're off to Europe doing the rounds, but I see you're in Russia at the start of December. Is that part of this tour as well, or is that a total separate entity?
No, that's part of this tour, but I went to Russia last year prior to the album coming out, and yeah, they've invited me back, so that should be a lot of fun.
I mean, obviously Mike and that has been to Russia. I saw all the posts on that. And why Russia? Is there a big blues scene in Russia? Is it? up and coming? What's the fascination?
I'll be honest, when I was invited out there and I did the gigs last June over there, I thought, who the hell is going to come to one of my gigs? Who knows who I am in Russia? And I just thought it was absolutely amazing. The places were absolutely heaving. There's definitely an audience over there for blues rock, and I came away from that tour feeling a really warm feeling about Russia, and it was completely different to my preconceptions of what it was going to be like.
I mean, do you think that harks back to the days when, obviously with the Cold War and that, and then after that they had like Maiden and that going out there playing these massive gigs? Well, these guys have never experienced Western music live, and I think it almost seems to have continued throughout the decades that any live music from the West that goes out, that makes the effort to go out there, seems to be welcomed with open arms, and like you say, the public love it.
I mean, it wasn't much effort really, because they plied me with alcohol for a week, which
Stuck
seemed
you on
like
the plane for 4 hours.
Yeah, and it was absolutely amazing. And I said to them at the end, I said to the guys that were looking after me over there, I said, you know, I'd love to come back, and thankfully they've invited me back in December. So yeah,
That's cool. And that's for a week, is it? 4 or 5
it's a week, yeah.
That'd be cool. You're obviously part of like this modern day UK blues scene, I think anyway. I mean, there's like yourself, Troy Redfern, Chris Barris, Mike Ross, Roscoe Leaf, all these type of guys, Lawrence Jones. Now, I know you're doing a collaboration with, it's Troy and Mike?
Yeah.
And is that out later this year? And how did all that come about?
It came about through us just basically sharing a lot of bills together, and we were just chatting backstage, and Mike was the initial kind of instigator of this, and he said, look, why don't we try and put some gigs on together? And that was quickly transformed into, why don't we do a record together? And that for me that was the fun part, because I like writing and I like creating new material, and I've worked as a solo artist predominantly over the last 3 or 4 years. So to be able to work with two guys who they're not just great songwriters, they're great frontmen, they're great guitar players.
People you respect and know,
yeah,
100% as well.
You know, they've got similar haircuts, that sort of thing.
And hats. It's all about the hats. It has, apart from Mike's not so brimmy.
Well, yeah, there is that. Although when we turned up for day one of the studio, just by chance we were all wearing identical black hats. But I don't know. We've been recording this record down at Brighton Electric, and I think it sounds really great, and I can't wait to get it out there, because I think we've recorded some really cool stuff.
I mean, Mike seems quite apt at that, working with other people. I know he did that thing with Roscoe, it was
Walrus, yeah.
which again, some great stuff on that. So I'm really looking forward to this collaboration as well, because like you say, you've got 3 unique people, but all of a similar vein, and you know each other inside out.
What's interesting about it is that when I'm working on my solo records, I'm the boss, and so any decision in the studio
Is yours.
I say, well, I don't like that drum part, or this, you know, and there doesn't tend to be too much comeback in terms of, well, you're not playing that guitar part that well. Whereas with Mike and Troy, it was a bit more like, okay, well, you can do better than that, which was a bit of a shock for me. And
but in a good way.
In a very good way, yeah, absolutely.
I think, yeah, your complacency just doesn't stay when you're like that. I mean, like you say, when you make all the decisions, I mean, if it's a shitty song at the end of the day, there's no one else to blame. Whereas, like you say, when there's 3 heads, you kind of can bash that shittiness out and come up with something that's amazing.
Well, when initially we sent round a bunch of tunes that we'd wrote on our own, and I sent a couple of tunes through to Mike and Troy, and I got their songs through, and I thought, I need to give them some better tunes, because I was blown away by what they'd sent me, and it pushed me to write better songs. Yeah. And we're going to be giving 2 of them a debut today in Reading, so yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome. So normally you're, like you say, you're solo writing. To write with other people must also, obviously that you sort of realise how good somebody else's writing is, and it's sort of like you say, it pushes yourself to raise the bar. Is it something that maybe in the future you think, you know, this might be something I might try a bit of collaboration writing, not for like a whole album, but maybe for a couple of tracks, just to have something different?
I've talked to a few people about collaborating and writing material, and I'm quite keen to work with a female singer, and I've not really done that. It's been quite male dominated, what I've done so far, and I think it'd be quite cool to see where my voice fits with another singer. I mean, there's some great singers on the scene at the moment, you know. Els Bailey's incredible. And to be working with somebody like that would be really cool, I think.
And she looks like she'd be a good laugh as well, so you could actually work well together and have a really good time.
And she has good taste in hats as well.
Yeah, I was going to say she's got hats, so she would fit perfectly. I mean, trademark hat, how did all that? I mean, before you had long hair, I've seen pictures, I think, from 6 years ago recently that have come up online where you've got short hair, no beard, no nothing. What brought the hats on? Was it always something?
The hats was... I don't think it was like a conscious decision to make it a thing wearing a hat, but I've always worn hats, and I kind of I had an experience when I was very early on in my musical career when I played a gig in a pub and I was wearing a trilby hat, and I didn't wear hats really usually at all, but some chap after I'd played came up to me and he said, "Oh, nice hat," and I said, "Oh, cheers, mate," and then he proceeded to punch me in the face, and punched me about, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and it was all to do with this hat. And luckily I was in a bar with lots of my mates, and then, well, I won't even go into what happened after that, but from that point on I just thought, well, it became a thing maybe mentally. It was like, well, you know, sod you, I'm going to wear a hat. Although I don't wear trilbies anymore, so. It
looks good though. I mean, like you say, talking like Mike and Troy and all that lot, it seems to be a mainstay of the look. Regardless of whether the hat makes any difference to the music style is really great, and I think it's very welcoming to like people come and watch you. It's got that real happy vibe, almost like you have a connection with the audience, more so than what you would do in other styles of music a lot of the time. And I guess a lot of that comes as well from when you're playing like your residency, where you're so close to people, you have to connect. Because like you say, if you don't connect, you know straight away, so you have to kind of almost adjust on the fly, if you like.
But I think music can be a really transformative thing for people, and it can, you know, I've spoken to loads of people, not necessarily just my gigs, but gigs that I go to where they might be going through a load of crap in their lives, but going to a gig and seeing some live music or sticking on a record can improve their mood and can really get them through some difficult stuff.
It's an escapism, isn't it? Because once the live, I personally, I don't think there's anything better than live music. Whatever genre, whatever. I mean, whether it's classical, whatever, it doesn't matter. If it's live music, you know, I'm just in awe of the people playing it or singing it, and it's just you get captured by the moment. And when you get like a gig like tonight at Face Bar, if you get back from the audience what you're giving them, it's almost like a twofold, or like a symbiotic relationship, and it builds and builds and builds. So you work off the crowd's energy, the energy from the crowd will get from you, and it's just almost like a two-way thing that just makes for a great evening.
Well, we just did a tour of Spain, and that was just incredible, you know. The crowds over there were absolutely nuts, and they were just so into the music, and it was so positive. And you know, when you do a run of dates as well, there's a certain point where, you know, you're kicking around during the day thinking, right, we've got to travel to here, you know, there's a lot of energy goes into it, but as soon as you walk on stage and you get that response, where else would you rather be? And I just find it, we came back on the ferry from Spain and just thought, God, that was, you know, we want to do that every single day of our lives. It's just unbelievable.
I'll say it's one of the best natural highs you can get.
Yeah,
is to actually stand on that stage and get that buzz. But right, well, thank you for talking to us at Two Finger Media tonight. Have a great gig in Reading. Look forward to hearing a couple of new songs from your Redfern and Ross and Hutchinson collaboration. And yeah, have a great show, and thanks for talking to us.
Cheers, mate.